Thanks, Dan, and thanks to everyone for turning up. Thanks, JP, for putting this on for Gateway. It's really appreciated. So, as Dan mentioned, I've been with Gateway now for just under almost exactly 2 years. Initially in the technical role, now in the MD's role since earlier this year. Prior to that, I was with Doré Minerals for about 9 years, from basically the start all the way through construction of 2 gold mines and then the takeover by Silver Lake back in 2019. Prior to that, I was with one of the South African majors, Harmony Gold, for about 10 years, both in Kalgoorlie and then up in PNG. So when I left Silver Lake after that takeover, I was, what I was looking for, sort of going through thinking about your career and what's next, and I decided I want to get back involved with the smaller end of things, and had sort of 3 criteria of what I was looking for, and Gateway fit all those the bill of all of them, which hopefully I'll show you why through this presentation. But first of all was the project, and the Gidgee project we've got here, we'll go through here today, it's a significant project in a great part of WA. It's a really got all the attributes. It's got existing resources at the moment, which are just sitting under some historic pits that were mined in the early 1990s, but there's real scope there. The geological setting, without getting too technical, is fantastic for finding more. The second was the shareholder base, and one thing with Gateway is it's got a really stable and engaged top 20 shareholders, and some of the significant shareholders, the directors, are pretty significant shareholders themselves, which is a good thing. And the other was the people that were involved, and definitely the people with Gateway is fantastic. So we'll go through today about the Gidgee project, which is now our sole project. 1,000 square k's north of Sandstone on the Gum Creek Greenstone Belt. We've got 240,000 ounces there, under 2 of the old pits that were mined in the 1990s, but we're just in the process now of updating that with some work that we did recently on one of those resources, and then also a couple of new discoveries that we're going to do a maiden estimate for. But as we'll go through today, we've got a strategy there for finding more, and what we see is continual additions to that resource base through the discovery up at Gidgee. We're really focused on that, and what we're big on is systematic exploration and really disciplined approach. As we'll go through, I think we're pretty cheap, as most MDs do, but the one thing with Gateway is we have really low overhead costs. We put a lot of our money in the ground, so industry average looking around 70% in the ground. We're consistently over 80%, so we really have a big focus on making sure most of our dollars go into the ground. So what's the opportunity? So the opportunity really from us is Gidgee. It's a significant land holding up north of Sandstone, the Gum Creek Greenstone Belt. You can see there our neighbours Horizon Gold with the Gum Creek project, but we're the most significant landholder in this region. And this is a pretty important region in WA, in the Murchison. Off to the west of us there on the left, you can see all that ground there is tied up between Westgold and Ramelius. Over east of us, we've got Wiluna Mining, the guys at Bellevue down there, and then also Goldfields with their Agnew Lawlers operation. So we're sitting right back, smack bang in the middle there, and this is a part of WA that really hasn't been heavily explored since the late 90s, early 2000s. So there's a significant opportunity there for us. We've got a pretty clear and structured approach to how we're going to grow this project, and that's the first, looking at extensions to those existing resources where we can. There's 5 open pits were mined in the 1990s. At the moment we've got remnant resources under 2 of them. We're also really being disciplined about taking the knowledge from those deposits and applying them to the surrounding geology to make new discoveries, which we've done already, and we've got a few more to come. We're developing those targets to continuously provide opportunities for us. And then the reality is that where we are and the ownership structure in the region, there's going to be opportunities there from an inorganic point of view in terms of acquisition or the like, or some sort of corporate activity. So we're sort of aware of all of those. But what we really want to do is build on this significant project that we've got here in this part of the world, 1,000 square kilometres, and that's really our sole focus now and all that we're working towards. Ooh, what happened there? Okay, sorry. So this is a bit of a geological setting of our main area. in the Gidgee project, which is called the Montague Dome. Without getting too technical, basically what we see is this pink area in the middle, it's a big granite intrusion come up into a mineralised shear zone. It's a bit of a classic WA goldfields setting for all the geos there, but really the important thing to note here is along this western margin where there's been a lot of work done, a lot of this deeper drilling by us, all the gold accumulated along the edge of that granite. Most of the drilling that was done historically in this area was really ineffective, less than 50 metres deep. We were able to show that that didn't really work. But the other key here is this whole eastern margin is pretty much undrilled. We've got our two existing resources here at Whistler and Montague Boulder. Horizon Gold, just off our tenement, have got the Howards deposit there. So you can see there's a couple 100,000 ounces there, but what we've got up here is much bigger, and then we've got this entire 8 kilometres up this other side. And we've got some other targets in the area too, which I'll go through, Monarch and this sort of Flame Tree area. But our goal is to keep finding a series of these deposits, to keep adding to the overall project, adding to that 240,000 ounces we've already got, and the work that we're doing at the moment to put initial estimates on those initial discoveries. So what has been our recent focus? As I just mentioned, it's been working on those new discoveries and re-estimating those resources. That's the main thing. So the Montague Boulder resource, we've done a bit of drilling there over the last 12 months. We're updating that resource, hopefully upgrading it from an inferred resource. The Evermore deposit, it's a new one that we found north of Montague Boulder. Put a lot of drilling in there over the last 9 months, doing an initial resource there. Achilles, down to the south there of Montague. That's some work that was done by Gateway in late 2019, early 2020. Again, putting a first pass resource there. And the little airport deposit, which is further south again, that's a little sweet high-grade deposit there that has been sitting around, and we're going to put a first pass estimate on that, put some numbers around it. So at Montague, upgrading the resource there, currently that's 120,000 ounces. Really that was just immediately below the historically mined pit. It's located on a granted mining lease, which is a key attribute of this project. A lot of these old pits, the mining leases have been maintained, so the tenure's in good standing. We put about 5,000 metres of RC drilling in there, mainly late last year, and really what we were targeting there was confirming some of these high-grade controls on mineralisation, excuse me, and also looking for extensions to the resource. So we've extended some of those results there, you can see, extended at 100 metres south. We've also found some repetitions of the mineralisation, which these cross sections here show. Here's the main resource. We've picked up these parallel lodes underneath the resource, which is the focus of our estimate work that we're doing at the moment. So that work's in progress. Our re-estimation is underway, and it should be released. We're aiming for a December release this year, so as part of an overall upgrade to the project's resource. The second one I talked about, we've been doing a lot of work on is Evermore. So this is a new discovery that we made late last year. I think the last time I talked here, we'd put the first couple of holes into this. Excuse me. Similar geology to Montague. It's about 1.5 kilometres north of Montague. We chased it out. We saw that the historic drilling there was not really effective at testing for this style of mineralisation. Went back with an RC rig, successfully hit mineralisation, as we can see there from those results. We also found a new host rock there, which where this structure hit it, we can see those first couple of results get some nice thick high-grade intersections, which is great for the project. So at the moment, we're taking all that drilling that we've put into the deposit, running it through the estimation process, and going to put a maiden resource out for this, targeting at the December quarter. The third one I've been doing a lot of work on recently is Achilles. So this was, I mentioned before, this is south of Montague. This sits around 3 of the old pits that were mined. So we've got Rosie, Caledonian and Caledonian Northeast, mined in the late 80s. Gateway did a heap of drilling here back in 2019, early 2020, and really what it was just continuing to drill north of this little Rosie pit. We can see all this mineralisation here in red and magenta. That's about 400 metres we drilled along strike. The key with Achilles is it's a shallow oxide deposit. So only starts from pretty much below surface, just below the transported overburden. continues down sort of 50, 60 metres below surface, but it's all oxide-hosted mineralisation, which is a pretty important thing in the WA goldfields. There's not a lot of that left, and it's a key attribute. And the other thing too is north of this 400 metres, we're currently going to do some work up here in late September, early October. It continues on for at least another 600 metres, so there's scope there to make this even bigger. Again, taking all this work now, running it through, updating or putting out an initial resource for it as part of the project update. The last one we're really focused on at the moment from our resource estimation point of view is this little airport deposit. So this is further south of Achilles again. Got the arrow come up here. This was drilled by Gateway back in 2002. It's not really big, but it's, again, oxide mineralisation. It's nice and shallow. It's only 20 to 30 metres below surface, but you can see there from some of those grades and widths there of this oxide mineralisation, it's a nice little sweetener. So it's a great thing to have. Again, it's located on a granted mining lease. Small but sweet, high-grade resource. It'll fit in well with the rest of our work that's going on. There's also potential there to extend it. We think there's some faults which offset the mineralisation. We'll do a bit of drilling to test that. But again, running that through, updating the resource and adding it to the overall project inventory, which we'll be releasing back in the December quarter. Also recently we've just been doing a bit of other work while we've started this resource estimation process. So in the background, just some of these earlier stage targets, continuing to generate them, to test them, to hopefully elevate them up the priority list. So we just finished a big air core program, first pass testing of the Plymouth anomaly sitting out here, west of Evermore and Montague Boulder. We also did some work at Achilles South, so just extending that Achilles drill coverage down here towards the tenement boundary. And then also up here at Julia's, which is another little oxide target, again looking at shallow, near surface mineralisation. We've submitted all those samples, they're in the lab, starting to get pretty well documented. There's a bit of a delay on those samples Australia-wide now. We'll be releasing them as they come out. We've also been doing some bit of geophysics work out on the western tenement, again just generating these targets, early stage targets, and then we're just getting ready for some RC drilling which will get underway the second half of September. Extensions to Evermore to the north, and then also some further drilling at Achilles, which I mentioned before, extending that resource pattern. So what's next? What's beyond these resource estimates? And this is where is the key to the project, this systematic pipeline development of these prospects to add to the overall project resource inventory. So next, we've got a couple of key targets there. This one down north of that Howard's deposit owned by Horizon called Kashmir, and then the Monarch anomaly over to the east. So Kashmir, this is basically a direct extension of the 200,000 ounce Howard's resource owned by Horizon, just off the tenement boundary. Gateway did some pretty easy first pass soil sampling, generated a big anomaly along strike. As you can see there's basically no drilling been done there historically. Big soil sampling anomaly. Early last year we went and did 2 1 kilometre spaced drilling traverses, intersected high grade gold in those drilling traverses. Showed that prospectivity there is pretty big. We're along strike from existing deposit. We now know the mineralisation keeps going into our ground, so we'll be coming back there and really starting to focus on this area. And it'll open up the whole eastern side of that intrusion, as I highlighted earlier. Horizon Gold did released some results there on Monday, I think it was. Saw their share price go up about 50%. But you can see that's typical Howard's mineralisation, really thick, moderate grade mineralisation, and that's the potential that we've got on that eastern side. Excuse me. The next one there is Monarch. This sits out on the eastern side of our tenure. So this is in a different geological setting, but basically there's some quite substantial gold workings out there. There's a few old head frames and the like still on the ground. Amazingly, there's only been 5 shallow RC holes drilled there in 1985, one of which intersected 10 metres at 1.2 grams, never followed up. Gateway, we've gone and completed a whole heap of soil sampling. We've outlined this big gold anomaly. It's about 6 kilometres long. Again, there's outside of those 5 holes under the old shafts, there's nothing been done there. So at the moment, we're just doing a little bit of infill soil sampling to tighten up that anomaly, and then we'll come back in there with an RC rig and test it. This is first pass testing, big target, but really good potential. We've also, the guys, when they were out there about a month or so ago, just took some surface samples of some rock chips, the veins and that outcropping, and we've got grades in those rock chip samples up to nearly 19 grams per tonne at surface. So the gold's there. We just got to define it and then go and test it with the drill rig. Beyond that, the longer term 12-month target pipeline, these are earlier stage prospects. You can see the extent of our tenure. And, the area we've been looking at is around this number 4. Excuse me. But a lot of potential there. Big project. This is what Gateway does now. We're just focused on this project and developing it and trying to make sure it fulfills its potential. So our overall strategy, excuse me, what we've been doing over the last sort of 2 to 3 years of Gateway was reset back in 2017-18, was really to narrow down the focus on this Gidgee project. So a lot of our other projects that were sitting in the company before have been divested. It's actually enabled us to assemble what's now not a bad little share portfolio of about $1.5 million worth of listed shares. But through a few different deals and pegging some open grounds, we've accumulated about 1,000 square k's at Gidgee, and this is the major thing that we're focused on now. It's the only project we have. And we really see that it's underexplored. So in an area where, as I mentioned before, it's fairly fragmented ownership, there's a lot of bigger brothers, if you like, in the area looking at what their future is and what else is coming along. We've been able to establish Gateway as pretty much the biggest, well, not pretty much, we're the biggest landholder in this area, but also by growing our resources, we have this opportunity to make ourselves one of the major companies in this area and really capitalise on anything that may happen going forward, which may or may not be us. This is our pathway, if you like, what we're using to grow those resources. So early stage targets in the left here, systematic exploration the whole way through, pushing them up this value chain, and really what we're aiming for is this end product to define more resources, turn these things into resources to add to the overall project inventory. And one of the keys we've been able to show is that the last 2 years, these ones here particularly, they're new discoveries. So we haven't just gone back to drilling under the old pits, things that have been known about for a long time. This is genuine new work that's added to the project. So in terms of a summary, so this is the corporate summary, the capital structure. Can see there, market cap about 32 million at the moment. Excuse me. End of June, we had just under 3.6 million in the bank. Plus we've got that listed portfolio I mentioned before, about $1.5 million in the backgrounds. Some pretty significant shareholders there. So a major shareholder, Kerry Harmanis, he's been there since the reset in 2017. He added to that position over the Christmas period last year. Key there, but our top 20 at just under 40%, and they're really stable and have been good supporters of us over the journey. Directors with just under 14% of the company. Some of these, so Omni, Crest Investment Group, that's one of our non-execs. Scott Brown's involved in both of those. L11 is a guy that some people in the room here know, Andrew Bray. Used to be an MD of Gateway and involved with Strickland. He's a pretty big supporter of us as well. So even though we have a lot of shares on issue, the company's quite an old company. It's nearly 50 years old. Really, the top 20 is pretty solid and pretty well supported by the directors. Got this successful team associated with the company. I talked about myself before. Trent Franklin, who's our chairman, been associated with Gateway for quite a while now. Also associated with some other successful juniors, Silver Mines and Strickland, I mentioned before with Andrew. Deb Fullerton, who's now the CEO of Westgold, over to the east of us there, one of our non-execs. Scott Brown, very experienced company director, involved with the Crest Investment Group, which is a shareholder of ours, where they're involved in lots of different deals. I suppose the highest profile one that they've done in the last number of years is getting the Carla Winter projects out of IGO and into Capricorn. So he was part of the team behind that. And then Pete Langworthy, who was the MD up until when I took over this year. He's stepped away from the board now, but he's still very much involved with Gateway as a technical consultant. We use him quite a lot for a lot of the target generation, a lot of the working through of these prospects. So he's still heavily involved with the company. So what are the takeaways? So really the big thing for Gateway is this Gidgee project, which is our only focus now. We've stripped the company down. We're now only focused on this significant land holding in a great part of WA. From a gold exploration point of view, the WA goldfields is pretty much the best place in the world to be looking, and we're really well set. We've got existing resources, 240,000 ounces, I mentioned before, but we're about to add to those over the work we're doing at the moment. New discoveries we've made over the last couple of years, so that should go up quite a bit. We've also got plenty of growth left in the project. So the geology's great, really underexplored. We've now been taking the learnings of the last couple of years and applying them, showing this is a large gold system. There's really potential for a lot of these discoveries around this gold system, and that's what we're keen to progress. And we've got the team there in place, experienced and successful. We've got a track record of making discoveries, commercialising them, growing companies, and that's really the opportunity for Gateway shareholders. So thanks for listening to me. Any questions, happy to take them. Otherwise, enjoy your lunch. Thank you.